Welcome back to Activity Management. We've created our prerequisites for running the activity management process. And now the first step in activity management is creating the activity registry record. So this is the record where we configure all the details and define all the details for assessments for a corresponding course record. Okay, so where are we going to do that? Curriculum management. Actually, let's open a new window. Curriculum management, activity registry, activity registry. Okay, we're going to add a new value. All we need to do here is click add, make sure the institution is populated. Okay, we're into our record. So what we need to do, first of all, we're going to update the effective date. So we're going to put it in the 1st of August 2016 because this activity registry record is going to be live and used from the 1st of August in 2016, that academic year. We've got content definition, that's set at coursework. Our status is active, which is good. So we needed the description. The description should match the description for the corresponding course catalogue record. So I'm going back to my record and I'm going to copy that across. In we go. Course ID. So this is where we link the activity registry record to the course. We have to do it. It's mandatory. You can't create an activity registry record independently. It has to be attached to a course, which is common sense because it is, the activity registry is where you create the assessment records for a course. So I'm going back to the course and getting my ID. Paste that in there. Then we need to select the offer number. So you may have more than one offer. Normally it's just going to be one. If there are more than one offers, and we've got this box tick, associate all offerings, it means that you will use the same activity registry record for all offerings in that course. Okay, so that's all we need to do on the registry header page. Okay, so this is the registry detail page. This is where we create and manage our assessment records. So the first thing you'll see is we've got content type. So this is the different type of assessments that we can create. First one that's automatically created is the course, which you can see here. They automatically put a description of the course. So this is what's called the course root. This is the parent record to which we attach all the assessment records. You sit underneath it as child items. We have this course root, so we can basically configure standard information that we apply to all the assessments underneath it, such as result scale, pass mark, and whatever. You can override it, those standard values for each assessment, but that's basically what it's here for. So we've got that, and let's run through them. So we've got result scale, 100 points. So a result scale is what you mark something out or grade an assessment out of. So 100 points is marking out of 1 to 100. And in the results scale, it sets which marks are passes and which marks are fail. So in this one, which is we're using for undergraduate, the pass mark is 40. All marks above that will be identified as pass. All those below will be identified as fail. And those ones that are identified as fail would also be identified as resit eligible, i.e. the system will know that if a student gets, say, 35, which is a fail, it will say it's resit eligible and it can create a resit record for them. So that's the result scale. We've got our pass mark of 40, which we'll leave as it is. Attributes. We've got a new attribute added for the University of Nottingham at the course level. And this is where we want to identify where it's called reassess all. So this basically means if the student fails one assessment in a course, they have to retake all of them, okay? And this will be used in the progression rule further down the line. When it's working, the system's working out what resit records to create, it will look at this value and say, right, I need to create, even though the students only failed one assessment, I need to create resit records for all of them, okay? So that's what that is. Okay, showing student self-service, so it will display the record on student self-service. Click this to calculate the mark average, which is the mark average across all students on the assessment. And mark rank to create the mark rank the students based on their assessment marks. So we'll click all those, and that's standard configuration. These we don't have to do anything with, and that's all we need to do for the course root. Now we need to add our assessments. As you can see, I've got this box here that says insert child item. That's ticked, which means anything I add will add it as a child item to the course. So I'm going to click on plus. And I'm going to put in a content type. So we've got different content types. The main ones are exam, assessment item, and condition. So all these content types, they have specific fields relevant to that content type, unique fields to that content type that we can populate to provide more information to the system. So for example, exam will have duration. What's the length of the exam, which we need to put in, as that will feed back to exam scheduler for scheduling purposes. For assessment item, we've got late penalties. So we can configure if a student submits an assessment late, what penalties we apply. Okay, so specific. So when you choose your content type, you need to think about the information you need to record for it. So we're going to set up two, exam and assessment item. We're going to set one of those up of each. So we're going to start with the exam. We have to put a content code in, which is just a system reference, and we've got a standard thing for exam, which is EX1. And actually, I forgot to put that in for the course root, and that's CRSE. Okay, go back here. Let's give it the description. I'm going to call it exam1. The description should match the assessment types we currently use in Saturn, so exam1, exam2, exam3, coursework 1, etc. Okay, so you can see we've got these fields again that we use in the course root. We've got results, scale, and we've got pass mark. We can click on override if we want to change those. I'm not going to do that for this one. Weighting multiplier, so this is the percentage weighting for that assessment. I'm going to put it at 50. And we've got some attributes here we can populate for exams. UON exam type. So this is purely used, we've got different options here, but really the only two we're going to use are ROGO and final. If we use ROGO, it's going to inform exam scheduler. This is a ROGO exam, it needs a particular room timetable for it, a computer room. This is not a ROGO exam though, so I'm just going to select final. And then if we are using a ROGO exam, we can select a type which provides more information to timetabling. Okay, so that's that done. I'm going to click these. These three should always be ticked. Exam type. So what we record here is when that exam is going to run. Is it going to run in spring or is it going to run in autumn? And again, this is for timetabling purposes. So I'm going to say it's running in autumn. I'm going to put a duration in, 2 hours. Mandatory is ticked. Now this just means that the student has to take the assessment. Markup, we don't complete that. Scheduling options, that box must be ticked, otherwise it won't create the exam records further down the line. And now let's look at resits. So let's click on resits allowed. We need to select this all the time. If it's not selected, we can't create resit records for the students for this assessment. So I've ticked that. The calculation option should always be highest mark because we always want the system to use the student's highest mark from the different attempts. And we don't need to populate resit assignment. Oh, yes, we do. I'm lying. And the normal thing here is next exam resit period. So the system, when it's creating the resit record, it will look at this and say, right, just add in the next exam period that's relevant. Number of attempts. So we can set the number of attempts. The number of attempts the university allows is 3. The first attempt and then 2 resits. Okay, and we're going to do that by academic year. And I'm going to update that to 3. Okay, supplemental resit is the other option. So supplemental resit, this is where I've taken the resit is a different assessment type to the original assessment. So let's say I took a coursework item and I failed it. I'm now going to do an exam. We have to configure those instances in the system. What we would do is we would set up a new assessment record and identify it as a supplemental. And then here, the original assessment it applies to, we would just search for and add in here. So the system knows if I fail this coursework or exam item, this is what I'm going to use as my resit. Okay, so that's all we need for the exam. Now I'm going to add in a sibling item. So basically it means I'm adding in an assessment on the same level. Yeah, it's not sitting below the exam, it's on the same level. So I'm going to click on plus. Now we're going to put an assessment item in here. The standard content code is AS1, 2, 3, etc. I'm going to use assessment item. I'm going to give it a description, which again should be based on the agreed assessment types used by the university currently in Saturn. So coursework 1. I'm not going to change this. I will change my weighting to 50, so now I've got 100 in total. Click on attributes. So we have an assessment type attribute. I'm going to click on that. So these are the standard categories of assessment type that we use in Saturn at the moment, and I'm going to select coursework. We don't need to use ROGO here. It's not a ROGO exam. Click on OK. Right, let's tick these boxes. Okay, so the next thing we need to do here is, for assessments, is configure late penalties. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to select daily penalty, because that's how we do it at the university. We have penalties by each day that assessment is late. And I'm going to put in 5, because the standard penalty is 5% per day. I'm going to change that to term start date. And resits allowed. So we do the same configuration for resits as we did for the exam. Highest mark, academic year, number of attempts 3. And I'm going to click on save. All right, and that's it. It's created my activity registry record. I've created an exam, I've created a coursework, I've put in all the details I need to move further down the line to create my activity manager and my IAM record.